So last fall, my friends and I decided we were tired of pretending to have hobbies, so we formed a book club. You know, for culture. We were all pretty excited, mostly because it gave us an excuse to hang out and eat snacks without feeling guilty. The first meeting was at my place, and after 5 minutes of awkwardly skimming the back of The Great Gatsby, we launched into a passionate debate about whether the green light on the cover was more teal or seafoam. This went on for a solid 20 minutes before anyone admitted they hadn't actually read past the table of contents. By the second meeting, we'd really hit our stride. We all showed up with different editions of Pride and Prejudice, so naturally, we spent an hour ranking the cover art from most likely to be mistaken for a romance novel to most likely to be found in a dentist's waiting room. Nobody seemed to notice that the books remained suspiciously crisp and unopened. When someone suggested we try reading an actual chapter together, there was a collective silence, followed by a heated argument about whether the font size on page 12 was more readable than on page 45. Month 2 rolled around, and our discussions had devolved into rating cover textures by strokeability, which honestly sounds dirtier than it was. We even started a spreadsheet to keep track. At this point, I suspected that none of us knew what any of the books were actually about, but nobody wanted to be the first to admit it. It became an unspoken game of literary chicken, where the only rule was that you weren't allowed to open the book past the dust jacket. It all came crashing down last week when Dave, our self-appointed club president, triumphantly announced he'd finally finished a book. We all stared at him in awe, until he sheepishly clarified that he meant he'd finished designing his own book cover in Photoshop, because he'd run out of real books to judge. That's when we all realized we'd spent 2 months literally judging books by their covers.